everyone, and welcome to Transatlantic Watch Party. We are a TikTok live / podcast that talks TV. Dan is in Canada, and myself, Cara, I'm in the UK. We watch an episode separately, get together on a Sunday and discuss it. And today we are discussing 911, Season 8, Episode 14, Sick Day. How stressed were you, Dan?
Oh, by the end of it, pretty stressed. I forgot it was a two-parter. So that cliffhanger got me. And very good intro, by the way. I just want to say that was probably the best intro you've done so far.
Thanks.
Very, very concise. You got it all. You got all the words in the right order. And so that was that.
I remembered to tell people who I was. I don't always do that. Yeah, I did well.
Yeah. So this was a good one. I really was, like I said earlier, I did in my trivia today, because I got an outbreak related question in my movie trivia. I said it was kind of an outbreak related question or episode, right? Because there was a lot of, like, it was a virology lab or whatever they called it, right? Where there's like a deadly disease there. Anyway, we'll get into it. But yeah, it was really, really good.
Yeah, actually, funnily enough, as I came onto TikTok to join the live, the first thing that came up on my FYP was your today's trivia, and I had to like it to go back to later. So I'll do that later. I was like, I don't have time now. So we started off with what I thought was quite an odd scene.
Okay, so what's happening? Remind us, what's happening in the opening scene?
So the opening scene is the Wilsons and the Hahns having dinner, and I always love a Wilson Hahn like get together, and I especially love it since we had the whole Mara being fostered by both of those couples before she was fully adopted by the Wilsons, because it's nice because Ji-un, sort of gets to hang out with Mara again because she spent so long with her. So it was that's always very cute. Always good to see Karen. But yeah, so they were having dinner. We had this this great conversation where Chimney suddenly discovers that strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries are not berries.
And I was actually learning this as well for the first time. I was not aware of this either. I did know the banana thing. I was aware of the banana thing. Bananas are berries, apparently.
Yes, and he's like, but they have a peel. What I really loved was, like, Karen's dig at botanists, which seemed really like who on the writer team has a beef with botanists, because they were like, they've changed it, and somebody says, scientists have changed it, and she goes, botanists, and Maddie goes, aren't botanists scientists? And she's like, well, I don't know, you don't see us out here declaring clouds are actually oceans. And I was like, first of all, what's that got to do with botany?
But you're right, someone's got it for botanists. Someone on that Reddit snap. I think we were after it.
Like, someone's ex is a botanist. And it was like just a beautiful little personal dig. And then we had just the, like, did they put this scene in because it's gonna come up later that they're actually having, my assumption is they're actually having twins, and they're having a boy and a girl, and like they haven't discovered that yet.
And that's what that was, a hint at that. Yeah, I don't know, I thought it was funny because, like, Jian is excited about the cake, and they're like, why? And because they made a gender reveal cake. They ordered a gender reveal cake for Ji-yoon just to reveal to her, because they already know they're having a boy, right? They've already been told they're gonna be having a boy, so they've just done the cake for her. But the cake is wrong. The cake says it's a girl. It's a pink cake. And they're like, what? And then it does appear that though the cakes were simply mixed up, that they just got the wrong one, and that
the Shapiros got the wrong cake, and they were like, oh well, that's going to be a surprise on delivery day. And I'm like, it's not though, is it? Because if gender reveals are ridiculous and stupid, and you certainly, at least they only did a cake, and they didn't like start a wildfire at like one of those really stupid gender reveals party.
Yeah.
And secondly, the Shapiros, if they've got a cake that says it's a boy, then they're going to be like talking to their doctors about the boy they're going to have, and at some point the doctors are going to go, No. So I don't think they're never going to mention it. Like, and it's
Yeah.
going to be a surprise.
And I agree with you about gender reveal parties. And I think that there was a bit of that when, like, Hen, I think in particular, was like, why are you doing this? This is kind of stupid. Like, I think that there was a bit of that going on there where they're like, this is not necessary. Like, what are you doing here? But they did it anyway. Because I think Julie was excited about it.
It's cute that they did it for G. Like, I get that. And Denny and Mara obviously don't know either. So it was, for all the kids, and it was very cute. But I did love the moment where Jimmy was like, oh yeah, but she doesn't know we're having a BOY. And Roddy was like, she can spell boy. And he was like, oh yeah.
Okay. This is where I have to tell a story. This happened to me. Something similar like this happened to me when I was younger. This is when I was first dating the woman who would become my wife and the mother of my children, now my ex-wife. But this is way back. This is so long ago. We were at a video store renting movies. This is how long ago this was. The video store still existed, and we were out renting. It was me, her, and her son, Nicholas, my stepson Nicholas, who was 8 years old at the time. And we're out looking at movies, and we're looking at all the shelves, and Nicholas is in the horror movie section, and he's looking at this one. He's like, how about this one, Mom? And he holds up Bride of Chucky, right? Which I'm sure is full of horrific violence, and like, it's a child's play movie. It's like, it's got to be really bad. And I turn it to her and I say, I think that has SEX in it. And he goes to me, I can spell, I'm 8. Now, to give me credit, I had not had no experience with children at that point. I was the father of 3. So I have no clue, but Chimney's the dad. Chimney should know at this point that his daughter can spell boy. That was a really bad mess up by Chimney. He's like, oh yeah, oops. Like,
I think, to be honest, I think Chimney was still so hung up on the whole Berry situation that he just could not focus on anything else for the rest of the night.
That could be. You're right. Absolutely. So I thought that was hilarious. That just brought me right back to that moment. And he's now 30, by the way. My stepson is now 30 years old and just turned 30 last week. And
you know what? He can still spell.
He can, and you can probably watch Bride of Chucky now too. I'm sure.
Oh, it's brilliant. So that was like our weird cold open. Like, it was so odd. Then we got a relatively sensible 911 call, insofar as the person calling 911, like, at least explained what had happened. But then he said, I can't believe what I'm seeing. So he said a bus ploughed into a load of cars. I can't believe what I'm seeing. And then what we saw was a bus which had ploughed into a load of cars. And I was like, I was expecting something much weirder.
Well, we did also see that there's a car like in the bus. Like, that was the main part of the problem, was that the car had plowed into the side of a bus, and that was like what was trapping people and stuff. Maybe that's sort of like, I mean, it was a huge pileup. It was a massive collision.
I was like, it's a pileup. You said there's been a pileup, and we arrived and there was a pileup. And I just think for a show that previously had a bus sticking out the middle of a skyscraper, this is relatively normal. And I know that guy probably hasn't watched 911 because it doesn't exist in that universe. But still, I was like, I was really expecting something weird. But no, just normal. And 10 going, oh good, a bus.
That was awesome. Nice callback to the previous episode. I thought that too. I said, hey, another bus. I just was like, right back at a bus. Not in a speed situation necessarily, but still, they got to get on there and get some people off like they did for the last one. So yep.
Yes, yeah. And first of all, everyone is standing way too close. If I saw a bus on fire with the fuel tank on fire, cars surrounding it on fire with their engine part of the car on fire, I would not be standing one car's width away from it filming. Like, that, the police don't seem to be holding a very good line there.
No, not at all. Right. And yeah, but they're also not doing a great job of putting out that fire. And that's my main issue with this scene, is that they sprayed some water at it for a couple minutes, and then they just kind of gave up and decided to let it burn.
On my second watch through, I must admit, there's the point. So Chim and they spray water at the fuel tank of the bus, and Buck closes the valve, so there's no more fuel going through the system. But that doesn't mean that the fuel isn't there anymore.
Mhm.
And then when Buck and Chim are on the bus rescuing the guy who is trapped, the car that is in the side of the bus then bursts into flames.
Right.
And I was like, why is no one handling that fire?
Yeah.
And then I thought, it's because that fire restarted the fire on the fuel tank of the bus. And I suppose, therefore, that is a priority. Obviously, I don't know, but I give this show so much grief, and I will be giving it a lot of grief through this episode of like, why are you doing that? This seems like a thing you wouldn't do. And on my second watch through, I was like, maybe that makes sense.
I just don't understand why they just didn't get a hose on that thing, like, and have it just continuously spraying at that bus the whole time. Like, isn't that what firefighters do generally with fires? They just keep the water on it until it goes out.
Yeah,
know?
and I did think when they do the whole fall back thing, I was like, okay, I get it, but also, like, that's gonna do so much damage. Like you're gonna have to deal with a much bigger problem in the future. Like,
Yeah. Stop the bus from exploding. That should be your main goal there, right?
Yes.
But anyway.
And then, oh yeah, and so again, one of the things we've got Ravi, big week for Ravi this week, which I love. He is sent out to check all of the cars in front of the bus, yeah. And he goes through and he's checking that they're all clear and empty, and he finds a woman in the upright car. The car that is on its back end, sticking straight up in the air. And he finds a woman in the front seat, and he checks the back seat, and all of her like clothes and stuff have fallen into it, and it's a complete mess in the back seat. And so he clears the car except for this woman, and he reaches out and he checks her pulse with his extremely thick firefighter gloves. And they do that all the time, and I'm like, can you feel like find your pulse right now in your neck? Yeah. I don't think you'd have to. That pulse would have to be pressing pretty hard.
Yeah, and I'm sure she's weakened, right? In that stage, she's unconscious. She's not having a strong pulse, probably.
The pulse is fine. I'm like, is it?
Yeah.
So yes, and then we got what we always love, which is a death fake out. I always love a death fake out.
Wait. They do this often? Is this like a common thing?
No, I just mean in any show, any TV trope, where someone walks into a fire and then something happens and you think, well, they're definitely dead, and then they're not dead. That's right. I love it.
I think here's another like firefighter moment. And what I was wondering, so Bobby goes in, right? Bobby goes in after the baby. So do we talk about the baby already?
Well, we didn't talk about it. Yeah, the baby that was Ravi missed that there was a baby in the car because the baby was not crying, and the baby seat the car seat was covered with the
cover.
pills.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ravi feels terrible about it. And the woman that they've got out of the car, they have her strapped down, she's got a collar on, she's got those blocks by her head, she's got that tape across her head so she can't move. And then she's like, where's my daughter? And just everything comes, and I'm like, again, who's doing this job? You're doing it badly.
Yeah. And so her baby is still in the car, and Robbie, of course, is upset because he thinks he cleared the car. He missed the baby, so he's upset with himself. Bobby just says, "Okay, I'm going back in. Everyone else stay back. I'm going in by myself." And this is what he does, right? This is just Bobby is like going to get in there and get the baby. So I didn't think for a second that he was going to die. I thought, how long are they going to wait until he comes out of that smoke with that baby? And I wondered, like, the timing of it. Do they actually wait like a certain amount of seconds before he comes through? Right?
Yeah.
And for that dramatic pause. But I did expect him to be coming in. I thought he'd have the baby like bundled up like this. I thought that would be a little more kind of iconic, but it's obviously much safer to transport that baby in the seat. You keep that baby in the seat and be coming out of there, right?
Yeah, but because also the baby might be injured, so I suppose that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then they do immediately lift the baby out of the seat and hand it to its mother, who is not properly strapped on her board. And we have actually had the same thing when Buck went chasing after that dog.
Yes.
And he got the hero shot of walking out of the smoke and he got to hold a dog in his arms and like do the true like firefighter moment, you know. And so it was nice that Bobby got it, but poor Ravi just.
Well, I mean, don't blame him. He's gonna happen to anybody, right? He looked in the back, there was nothing there. He moved on, right? That's what you do.
No, yeah, and you're not. It's a time-pressured situation. You know, you've got split seconds to make that kind of call.
Yeah.
No, so no, I didn't blame him at all. And then we got to see Bobby and Athena's lovely house. I'm so excited about this house. It's so beautiful.
They are too, and they're very excited about not having the kids around, which I think is hilarious. This is like, my room's so small, Mom. Oh, that's not your room anymore. It's the like it doesn't when she says it's the office or this or that, like she can't even quite decide what it's going to be yet.
No, it's the office / home gym.
There we go. So it's like two other things besides your room. So you can move into this other room, which is going to be your room / the guest room.
Yeah, which is May's old room, because May doesn't have a room anymore. And I liked the bit where she said, "Where's Grandma Beatrice's room?" Harry asked, and she was like, "Oh, that's in the Blue Ribbon Hotel, half a mile away." Absolutely brilliant. And May was like, "This is our dream house," Bobby said. And May was like, "Oh, so we're just not part of the dream anymore." And the thing was like, "Yeah, but you're just a daydream that goes home at the end of the night." And it made me laugh so much because my mum, whenever we watch like a house hunting show over here, when it's people who are like, "Yeah, we're moving because our kids have gone to university," my mum is just always horrified because they're like, "Yeah, we've got too many bedrooms. We don't need this many bedrooms. Our kids have left." And she's like, "No, they haven't. What? They're not even fully finished with university. What are they going to do in the summer holidays?" Like, she's always so horrified.
Weird.
These parents who are like, "You're 18, you're gone," you know.
That was my experience when I was growing up, for sure.
I thought you were going to say with your kids. That's no plan for all of them. Yeah, so we just got this very nice little Bobby and Athena scene. And then we went to what I consider to be the most shocking scene of the show, which was that Ravi went back to the bar with Buck.
That's surprising. It is kind of surprising, yes, after the last time. But yeah, maybe they're making it now that they're actually starting to become friends. Maybe now that Buck's eased off a bit, not trying to directly replace Eddie. They're just having, I mean, he did need it. He needed to talk about what happened, right? Obviously, Robbie's upset. He's like, I'm going to quit. He's ready to leave because of all this. And Buck's like, no, just calm down. It's okay.
Yeah. He was mad when Robbie was like, when Robbie said he was going to leave, he was like, "No one else is quitting this month. Get back down." And what I thought, but the only thing is, Ravi is obviously devastated by what's happened. And Buck, and he says, "You have to let it go." And my immediate thought was, like you did? Because when Buck lost but Ravi didn't even lose anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But when Buck lost his first person, he went to that guy's funeral and like tried to apologize to his sister. He did not let it go until later, because you have to work through all the shit that comes with that job. And he said, "You have to get on the horse, back on the horse." And Ravi said, "Is that what you did?" And he said, "Yeah, so many times." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you are allowed to say, and it was difficult." Yeah. And I struggled, and I am here if you want to talk about it. I don't like that he was like, "Yeah, everybody just get over it. This is part of the job." Because I know it was, 8 years ago, and I only really remember it because because of how I feel about this stupid show. But I don't like him just being like, "Hey, look, I had to get over it, so you have to get over it." Yeah, but you talked to Bobby and you had advice and you struggled with it, and you should acknowledge the struggle that Ravi is facing. Don't just tell him to move on. Say, You will get over this. You will go through this. I hate to say this, so many more times. And it is something you will learn to cope with. And if on the 7th time it happens, you still have not learned to cope with it, that is when you think about quitting.
Yeah.
You don't quit now because the first one is awful. And we all know that, and we are here for you. Even though nobody died, like, we are here for you. And I wanted him to be a little bit more upfront about how difficult it is.
That's a good point. I agree.
Yeah.
Very well said.
And then we got some lovely foreshadowing. He was like, you can't, you've got to move on from the doubt. Because doubt is like a virus. It'll eat you alive. Cut to virus lab.
Yeah, and honestly, for these next few scenes, it really did feel like a completely different show. Like, I'm like, this is some like new drama about I want to see this show about life in a virus lab where they hate their boss and they're like complaining about it. And I'm like, this sounds like these are good actors, great characters. This is a really interesting story, right? It's like, how, but of course, in the back of my mind is like, how is this going to become an emergency? Because at some point, someone's going to do something. And then this virus, whatever they're talking about, that has now this, they've doubled the incubation cycle, right?
She reduced it by like 90% or something.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because the incubation period was like 3 to 7 days.
She doubled the speed of how long it takes to get.
Yeah, because it was 3 to 7 days incubation period, and now she's got it down to like 90 minutes, within 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And what I want to say is this was it's that guy, except it was that woman, because she has been the villain in The Rookie for the last couple of seasons.
Oh, really? Well, she's very good. I guess he looks familiar. I've seen her in something. I just couldn't quite place it. And she's got her, like, half the time she's got that thing on her face, so it was hard to see who she was. So
I didn't recognize her at that point. It was when she went in and had the meeting with her boss. And I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, so what happens in the scene is that the two workers who hate her come down. She's already been working, as she's been to work early and working on this stuff. She's amplified the incubate, whatever she's done. She's amped up this virus to be super deadly. And so then they tell on her. They report her to their boss, who brings her up to the office and says, "You're fired." This is not a good policy, by the way. So she decides to go back downstairs, where she finds out her pass is no good. She tries to get back in there, and she can't because her pass is no good. What was the guy's name? I don't remember his name.
Alan. They got that pass stopped quick.
Yeah. Like, she goes immediately. She came downstairs and it was done. And so Alan is like talking to her about stuff. He doesn't know that she's been fired. And then the pass doesn't work. Then she just turns around and whacks him with her clipboard and just knocks him unconscious. He's got a nasty gash on his head. I'm like, oh, okay, there's our 911 call. That's what we're going to focus on. But no, there's more.
There's always more.
There's always more. I'm like, okay, well, someone's going to call and say, I thought it was actually going to be a 911 call to the police and say there's been a robbery and someone's stolen the virus or something. I thought that's where it was going to go.
Oh, and she was going to like threaten to let it loose.
Yeah.
In public.
Something like that. Yeah, I didn't know. She went in there. I mean, I guess it. Okay, you tell me what you think happened. How about that?
Well, what I will say, I mean, I'd seen the trailer, so I did not come into this fresh, But I will say there is a TV trope that happened. You never call a crazy person crazy. Like, that is such a TV thing. If there's a character that you think is crazy, you don't say to their face, "You're crazy," because then that's going to lead to disastrous consequences.
Yeah.
Exactly what we've got here. So I knew what the emergency was.
Okay.
So
yeah, how did the fire start is my question. Okay, so it's a fire. They go to the lab because of a fire. How did that
I
start?
think she set it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was arson. I think because spoilers, jumping right to the end of the episode, we find out that she has taken the only remaining antivirus.
No.
But so I think she took that and then just started a fire.
Okay, because I want to come back to that antivirus, because that like as soon as that is introduced, it kind of negates the threat of the virus. It kind of does for our characters anyway, for the immediate characters that we know and love, because yes, that virus could still get out. Yes, it could get out, and in fact, that's the real threat here, right? That our guy comes. Yeah, oh, I love the guy who played the army.
Right.
That guy was great. He was like, I'm coming in here and I'm going to shut this down. And we're going to go in and do this, and he was great. So there's that. But as soon as you introduce into the narrative that there is a antivirus and that you can give it to somebody, and you see that like they give it to the mouse is fine 2 seconds later, so they demonstrate that it works really well, perfect. Then you know that it's going to get to that character who needs it at the right moment, just in time to save them.
I mean, the risk is that more than one of them gets sick.
Right.
I don't know how many people that antiviral can treat. And also, can we just get the facts of the show right? Polly was a rat.
Okay, thank you.
Because when she hits Alan with the board, she's like, "Do you know why I never named my test subjects?" She whacks him with the board. She's like, "Because I hate rats." Because she thinks that that Alan and Roz have been working against her.
Right.
So yes, so we get the 118 turning up, and I had one thought through this entire episode, and it's something I've thought of before but we haven't discussed. When Maddie is having really hectic, really stressful calls, she's standing up out of her chair, she's shouting at people, she's telling people to kill themselves. When she's doing all that, she's crying. When she's doing all of that stuff, other people are just like in the background going like, yeah, no, yeah, just break the window and get the baby out of the car. I'm like, who is dealing with like just such banal
normal calls, right?
Emergencies. Yeah. Not that any emergency when you're in it feels banal.
Right.
But like a normal call. And they're just like, yeah, okay, the ambulance is there. All right, bye. Like, and Maddie's having this full on consistent nervous breakdown on her calls. And like, I said there was like an episode where I was like, okay, so I think that the rest of the A shift nominate one person every day whose job it is to find out what the clique are up to. Like what nonsense are they doing today? Mm-hmm. So no one ever has to deal with it constantly. I just wonder if there's like one person in dispatch who's like, again, why do I get all the boring calls? Why does she get all the
good ones? Yeah. My question about her role in all of this is how does she get access to the detailed floor plans for this top secret virology lab that's under such like strict security? And she can just tap, 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 tap. Oh, you go down to let's bring up the vents, and she can do that. She can look up everything they possibly need to get in there. Oh,
I think it's because you have to, like, when you're building something, you have to file.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
Blueprints with like the city or the county. And I think she has access to those because we've had it previously where she's been like, there should be a window in this room. And someone's gone in, been like, there's no window here. And she's like, there's a window on the plans and like, what's happened? So okay. I think they have access to all of those kind of things. But I was always thinking like, why is it Maddie who's in charge of all of this? Why aren't they talking to someone
involved, really?
Building and knows how everything works and where everything is? Like, why are they still?
I don't think that's how it works in real life. I don't think the operator stays with the call until it's all resolved. Like, she would be on to the next call once the 118 response, right? And she's on to the next thing. She's not involved.
On site.
Not in the captain's ear the whole time. That's funny.
Because also I have questions about the when they're talking, sometimes they're touching their things, and then other times they're not, and Maddie can hear everything, and I'm like, how do these radios work? Are they on all the time? Like, why is Jimmy sometimes going, I'm doing this, and then the rest of the time he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna be, and Maddie's like listening to him. I don't know how any of it works.
No,
I don't think they do either.
Right. I'm sure at least one of the lines was added when they're in the masks all the time, and they can add whatever they want. Yeah. You can say whatever they want in post when they have those masks on. Yeah. So it was that too.
So we get so they turn up, and the guy who's in charge, I just watched the film Juror number 2. which is the new Clint Eastwood one. And it's like a moral dilemma film, you know, like there's the main story, but then the side story is like this woman who's put her entire career behind this one case sort of starts to realize that it might not be the case she thinks it is. And it's a case that if she wins, she's going to get a big promotion. And if she doesn't, and it's like this sort of, it could have been, I was very disappointed with it in general, but it could have been this brilliant film about like this moral dilemma of this woman going, do I throw away my entire career to protect a person? You know, like, you know, it was very, the thing that wasn't in the film that I keep thinking about is very interesting. And the guy who runs the lab had that same sort of thing for me of like, he can't tell them what's happening, but he needs to tell them what is happening. I knew that this guy was having the moral dilemma, but I don't think stuff like that should be a moral dilemma. I think you just have to suck it up and go, things have gone wrong in this lab, and hands up, I fucked up here.
Yeah, and Bobby cuts through that pretty quickly by saying, no, it's okay, thanks. Bing grabs his pass and then goes in there, right? He's like, we're not going to worry about that. We have to get in there. He's like, you guys are going to be exposed. You got to put on suits. He's like, no, we risk our lives every day. Let's go. He had no problem with that.
I just wrote down, I really don't think, this really feels something they would not be walking into. Mm-hmm. Like, if there is someone in charge of that, and what I'm talking about is he didn't tell them about the incubation period being lower. But he is telling them, you can't go in there. We don't know if your equipment is safe. And there is a deadly virus down there that might be on the loose. And Bobby's like, yeah, but there are 2 people in danger. And I'm like, yeah, and you're taking 7 people in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like, surely there's a point at which you go, you know, we don't know if you will get infected. We don't know if you will expose the virus to everyone. We don't know anything that's going to happen here. How about Bobby Nash? We all take a breath.
Well,
and sit down and discuss what should happen. What's the safest thing for everybody involved? Yeah. But no plot.
Well, they got to get down there, right? They have to get trapped down there. So they go down, and what do I have here? Oh yeah, they're going in there. Now I thought there was a moment here where they're going down there, they're checking it out, and Ravi's going around, and he like they're looking for Moira, right? That's the person they think is down there. Moira and what's his name? The guy.
Well, no, they know that Roz and Alan are down there.
Oh, they don't know Moira's down there.
Roz and Alan, but when they find Alan, he comes to for a split second and is like, Moira? And they're like, oh no, there's a third person.
Right.
So they're looking for Roz and Moira. And Ravi is obviously carrying with him the fact that he did not look properly for that baby.
Yeah, and I thought one moment he like kicks open a door and he looks and he's like, clear, and like, you didn't look behind those shelves. There could be somebody over there. You really didn't check that room, Ravi. Like I thought he was like, you gotta learn your lesson. You're not. I thought there was gonna be someone in there and he was gonna make the same mistake again.
Oh no! Oh, you're gonna punish Ravi.
I didn't look like he checked that room very much. Like I really didn't see. Like you'd think he'd be much more careful this time.
Yeah, I thought he was going to become quite obsessive about it, but all we got was just before the explosion happened was him going, but we haven't looked for Roz. And I'm like, now is not the time to be worried about it. The time to be worried about it was like you said when you gave the barest glimpse around a room and then walked away from it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then they got to figure out that, and of course, Maddie's there. This is my favorite line. Can I say my favorite line in the episode? Is when they said they realized they have to go through the ducts, and then Timmy says, "Always ready to get my Die Hard on." What does he say? Yeah. Always ready to get my Die Hard on. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and you won't have seen the episode, but this was a callback to their wedding episode.
Oh, okay.
Last season. So when he and Buck are in the ducts, Duck's like, hey, at least you won't catch encephalitis this time, because that's what happened last time. And that's why the wedding went horribly wrong, because Chim nearly died. It was, oh my God, that was like the best Chim performance. You know, I always say, like he's such a good comic actor, but when he does a dramatic scene, he's brilliant. And that whole episode, he's hallucinating and you know, it's absolutely brilliant. He's fantastic in it, Kenneth Choi. And yeah, so he was in a duct trying to get someone out, and they sneezed on him, and he got this terrible virus that nearly killed him. And then,
Well, that's just a foreshadowing for him getting the virus in this episode, right? That's all that was.
yeah.
So anyway,
But I did like that we got like a horror jump scare, you know, when they're like looking for Roz, and she's in that cloudy room, and she like slams herself up against the window. That was fun. And then we got like there was an explosion, and Buck and Roz had got out, and they got locked. The whole room got like locked down. You know, the doors aimed out. He can't get in, and he's, I mean, desperate to get in to his team. And Maddie's like, "You can't do that. Don't get yourself hurt, and you might hurt them even more. I have someone on site who's gonna help." And he was like, "Who?" Cut to Athena Grant. And Athena Grant says to the guy who, to be honest, doesn't look nearly concerned enough about the situation, considering he knows about the incubation period of this virus. And she's like, "My husband's down there." And he says, "Your husband? Maybe I should be dealing with someone else." And I was like, yes, you should. And while we're at it, can we get Maddie off the call?
Because her brother and husband are involved in this situation.
Yes.
You're all too close. You're all too close.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I thought that was so funny. And then, yes, so Buck comes out, he gets decontaminated, and he's talking with Athena, and then we cut back to everyone sort of coming round from the explosion.
Right.
And we find out that and it was very well done, the reveal, because when they're all calling out, you know, when they're sounding off, as Buck was screaming for them to do, and they're all checking in, and Bobby's like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Chim, and you hear, I'm here," but it doesn't seem to come through a radio, and I was like, he sounds very unmuffled. Mm-hmm. And then they check in with everyone else, and then Chim comes into the shot, and he's like, "Yeah, there's like he's holding his respirator."
Yeah, his face mask has been smashed, so it's useless.
Yeah.
I don't know that the ones they have would be much more use. I don't know that those are like airtight to viruses. Is that how good those are?
I would say they would be, but equally the guy from the lab was like, "We don't know if your equipment is up to this, so we don't know."
The primary purpose of those masks is to keep keep them from inhaling smoke, right? So that's the main thing. But I don't know. It would, I guess. Anyway, we're supposed to leave.
There's a quite seal on it, obviously, and so yeah, it's much better than nothing, you know.
Yeah.
And he says, she goes, "Did you say your face shield is compromised?" And he's like, "Yeah, but don't worry, I still have my face."
That's good. He's got lots of good lines in this one.
And then like they have this situation where Hen has a collapsed lung.
Yeah.
They need to do like some surgery. Always classic. They have to do surgery in a weird situation. And Maddie calls Chim. Why is she calling him? She's talking to them all the time. Why is she? It's not going to be a private conversation because the channel seems to be open at all times. So
he's also in the same room as everybody else. So everyone's going to hear his side of the conversation. It was a very strange choice. I think she just wanted to check in to make sure she's calling to check his symptoms. She's got Google, and that was a great line. He was like, "Tell Dr. Google I'm fine," or whatever he said.
Amazing ad there for Google.
But he's right though. So many people do that though, right? And she's like just being so like, "Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have sensitivity to light?" Like all these weird things. Like how would he know? It's like this weird. Like how is he can know he's sensitive to light?
Are you hot? Are you cold? That's like the only two options.
Right. So, exactly.
Yeah. Bless him. I did like the fact that he was trying to find light to look at because it's, you know, they've only got like the
emergency. Trying to see if he was sensitive. Yeah.
And he, for a split second, he was like trying to, and then he went, "No, I don't have time for this."
Now here's my issue is that they determined that Hen needs surgery, right? She's got 10 minutes. It's gonna take him 2 hours to get in here. This is around the time where our army guy shows up and they're gonna be doing their tunneling in or whatever. That was kind of cool that they're gonna have this very specific sealed tunnel system to go in there and get them. Um and
He knew his stuff, and I like the book was like, how did you hear about this? We're the army, son. Like, when stuff like this happens, we know about it.
yeah. Well, so
And you should have absolutely left all of this to us. And if you'd only sat down and taken a breath, then, we'd have sorted this, and all of your people wouldn't be in the explodey virus room.
exactly. But my issue is this. Okay, so they have to operate on Hen. Now, the person most qualified to do this is Chimney. He is the only other paramedic there besides Hen, and Hen is incapacitated. But they say he can't do this because he is possibly infected. If he's infected and operates on Hen, he infects her. But doesn't she become infected the minute they cut her open? Like, doesn't wouldn't that infect her?
Yeah.
If it's an aerosolized virus, it's in the air. Like the minute her skin is cut and it's exposed, she's going to be infected with whatever it is.
Yeah, and they do. It's like, because you don't want it to get into her bloodstream. And I suppose they're just thinking, like, as soon as he cuts her and, but he wants the cut to be small so that only his finger will go in and only the tube will go in. Right. What I didn't really understand was why they didn't already have the other end of the tube in the glass, in whatever those things are called. And then he's like, okay, now put the end of the tube in the jar and tape it down. And I was like, why did you have to do that really quickly after everything else? You could have done that first.
Yeah, you could have done that ahead of time, for sure.
But equally, people are thinking the clearest. I did like the whole, when he goes, oh, you have to find the space between the fourth and fifth rib. And he's like, from the bottom or the top. And I was like, I like that little moment. He doesn't know. doesn't know at all. And so Hen stops breathing, so we have a nice NDE, near death experience. Yes, NDE. I was like, do I mean NDA? No, I don't. An NDE for Hen, because she stops breathing, and they get the tube in, the chest tube in, and all the blood comes out, and then she starts breathing again, and everyone's like, yay, happy moment, Hen's okay, this is so good. And then we get the classic coughing blood up that we don't see to begin with, and then they take the tissue away or their hand away, and he takes his mask off and there's blood inside it, and he says, oh my god, what does he say? I wrote this down. Not sure I'm gonna make it home for dinner. I think I picked up a little bug at the office. Which, is so Chim. I think I'm gonna die. How can I tell my wife I think I'm gonna die? Oh, I'll try and make it light.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well. But there was a nice moment in there where he said they were talking about how good a job Bobby did for saving Hen. He's like, Bobby Nash did everything. I'm just an incredible mentor. That was a great line from Chim.
We had many good Chim moments in this, with the berries, forgetting his daughter can spell, and this little thing, and the Die Hard stuff. We had a lot of good Chimney one-liners this week. Mm-hmm. And all this time we're cutting between them in that room and the army guys, looking like those blokes out of E.T. And they are fully still at this point going to go through, and then we going to go and rescue them. And then we get the moment where we walk in on the facility boss trying to get Ross to sign an NDA.
Mm-hmm.
And Ross tells them that, because they're like, what's going on? This guy's getting sick and he shouldn't be getting sick for 3 days. So what's happening? And she's like, you didn't tell them. And he's like, you need to shut up. And then they go, what's going on? And he said, well, I was waiting for HR. What extraordinary thing to say. I don't think HR are working right now.
No. There's nobody in the building right now.
Yeah. So I don't think they're going to get back to you anytime soon. And this is crucial, life-saving information, or at least life-losing information. This was stuff that they needed to know.
But
and you kept it from them because you were waiting to hear about Rhaenyra!
But it changes everything the army's doing. The army's like, okay, forget it. We're locking this down. We're out of here. We're not trying to go in anymore. And he's written them all off. He's like, no, I'm sorry. They're heroes. They've given their lives and whatever, name of freedom or whatever they say.
We are thankful for their sacrifice.
That's right. Yeah, they're thankful for their sacrifice. He's like, I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do. I think he's not even going to try.
We're abandoning these guys, and we are emptying everyone out of an 8-block radius.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, like, yeah, he gets shit done, this army guy, and if he'd had the right information from the beginning, and if they'd all had the right, I'm so mad at that bloke who runs that lab. So mad at him. And then we get like the moment where Roz is like, "There's a cure." Again, information we could have done with earlier.
Yeah, that's right.
And so they're very excited, Book, and I love the fact that the colonel is like, we're leaving them. You know, they are heroes. We are thankful for their sacrifice. He's absolutely like, they're dead and we're gone. And then he walks out of the room and Buck and Athena are like, so what are we going to do?
Yeah, they're not going to do that.
Not giving up.
Yeah.
And so Bucks finds out about this thing, this cure, and lets his team know about it. And in the meantime, and so the colonel is like watching on CCTV inside the lab, and he's like, where is that firefighter going? He could be just wandering around. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, where is that firefighter? He picks up on it straight away. And Athena walks in and goes, there's a cure. And he's like, you can't give it because we need it if this thing gets out to make other cures to save potentially thousands of people. And not, unfortunately, the 4 of you lot who were in that room. And she's like, I'm sorry. Did you think I'd come in here to ask permission?
Yeah. But he gets on the, like, they go in there and they get Ravi to go in and get the stuff in that freezer. It's kind of like in Jurassic Park where they have the little
so like in Jurassic Park.
I get it out of there. So he goes in there and they have to ask what's her name for the code. But he's like, firefighter. He just calls him firefighter.
Yeah, but the way the F came out at the beginning, I was like, oh, my brain just went, swear word. Like, even fucking don't is what I was expecting to say. And he was like, firefighter. So yeah, I genuinely thought he was going to just throw out an F-bomb on AVC. Yeah, so Ravi goes in. And it wasn't until he'd put in the code that my brain went, oh, of course it's not there.
No, she took it. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I didn't catch on to that until a split second before it was revealed.
Because I mean, they would have if she was still in there, they would have seen her by now, right? For the whole time, I thought she was unconscious somewhere. Again, we don't know. Nobody's really asked about how this fire started, right? We don't know anything about how it started, so I thought it was some kind of accident. I was still kind of thinking that. I wasn't sure what she was doing, but yeah, it makes it very clear, I think, at that point that and then we cut away. This is when we cut away to her on the subway. I think she is. I don't know what she is.
Out from the subway, yeah. She's just
and she's got like in her purse in a little thing of ice. She's got a little test tube of the antidote. That's the antidote, right? Not the virus.
Yeah, she's not walking around with that virus outside. She's walking around with the antidote because she's probably going to go and sell it to somebody.
But why wouldn't she take the virus too?
She wouldn't.
No,
I don't think. She'd just walk around. She'd just walk into someone else who's working on this stuff and go, I have the virus. I have the antivirus. Because if it works on the one that has the short incubation period, it should work, or they can manipulate it to work to the one that has the normal.
Yeah. Okay.
You would think.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
I am neither a scientist nor a botanist, Dan, so I don't know how any of this works.
doesn't have to do with botany. It has nothing to do with botany, and I think you have something against botanists. I'm just gonna say it.
But I did you know that it wasn't going to be in there?
I had the same experience as you, whereas like I when they open the reveal, I'm like, oh, of course it's not. Like it didn't. It's too easy for it to be there, right? So that's it's got to be somewhere else. And yeah, again, that it all. I mean, they did that perfectly, where like the audience clues in just as they reveal that she's taken it and she's off somewhere else. My question:
Yeah.
how did she get off the site? Like I guess she would have just walked out of there without anybody noticing because nobody knew she was fired.
Yeah, because she was fired, and so her job was at that point to piss off, you know.
Yeah.
So I suppose they didn't know that she'd gone in the lab because she used Alan's thing. And I was like, wouldn't the system, like if you went through the system, wouldn't it show that she used her badge twice and couldn't get in, and then all of a sudden Alan's going in like a split second later? Wouldn't you then go, But again, nobody took a breath and sat down and talked about it, so nobody knew any of this. Yeah. And then after that, and even Athena says when they discover that the boss man knew about this and had fired her, she was like, so wait a second, you fired an employee and then your lab sets on fire?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think to tell us this information. So I think she's sort of assuming now that it's arson. But yeah, and so we get the moment where when I thought he was going to swear at them, he's like, firefighter, don't, if you take another step, this is domestic terrorism, and I will have you and your captain, there are beds waiting for you in a supermax. And so Bobby goes, Ravi, step down, and Chim's like, and Bobby's like, I'll do it. And then Ravi's like, hey, I'm already here. And he looks directly at the camera where he knows that the colonel is watching, and he goes, you want me? Come and get me. And I am so sure that in one take he added the word motherfucker on there.
There's an R-rated movie somewhere. Yeah.
And then we it's not there. It is revealed the Jurassic Park thing opens and there are no dinosaurs. And and then we cut to Moira coming out and it's like, they did a bad thing. And I was like,
Isaac, I love that song. It's such a good song.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's a cliffhanger. So now we gotta wait till next week to find out what happens. I suspect they're gonna get the antivirus into Chimney on time. I suspect that's gonna happen. I don't think we're actually gonna lose Chimney, even though they want us to think that.
Yes. Yeah. Like, I don't think. I mean, this is a show where, like, Tim Minear, who runs the show, he has always said he's never killing anyone off. Like, we're never having an MCD. We're never having a major character death. But we have all the fandom has been slightly more concerned since they moved to ABC, because ABC love killing people off, and so we were like, oh, what if he can't keep doing this anymore and we have to kill someone? But no, I don't think anyone's gonna die. But I'm very excited to see what does happen.
Yeah, well, they have now they have to find her and track her down. This becomes kind of more of a police focused episode. And by the way, we didn't have anything having to do with Eddie. Were you upset about that? We didn't check in with Eddie at all, or is it just no time for that in an episode like this?
There's no time for that. Eddie's having the time of his life because he's got his son back. Mm-hmm. So Eddie is in Texas, no idea that all of this is going on and that everyone is on the verge of death and that Buck is having a nervous breakdown because Buck didn't immediately FaceTime him, which seemed weird, but he so he's just out there driving his car, keeping his mouth shut and getting tips and having a great time with his son, and he has no idea. And no, I'm not fussed about the fact that he wasn't in it, because it would be weird for him to be in it.
Yeah. And
I know that, like, this show does weird, not real thing, and, like, none of it makes any sense. But, yeah, at no point did I sit there during the episode and go, wait a second, where's Eddie in all this? I'd just be like...
He's in Texas. That's the only
really weird thought to have.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, it was good. I mean, very good, very thrilling. And now we have to wait a whole week to find out what happens,
Yeah.
like you used to do in the old days.
Yeah. Oh, telly. Oh. Um, and so,
You're
usual
right.
question. What else have you been watching?
This week I've been watching a lot of. I continue to watch lots of '80s television. I think I kind of want to do something around that. TikTok. I figure out some kind of video thing I'll do around it. But this week it's been Airwolf. Have you ever heard of Airwolf?
Yes, but I don't
TV
know
series?
what it is. Is it about a wolf that flies planes? What is it?
No. Oh, that would be great. I would love to show about that. No, no. This is about a super helicopter. There was like it's one of many super vehicle shows they had. They had like Knight Rider was about a super car.
Yeah.
Airwolf is about a super helicopter where it's basically this souped up like it's like one of a kind. It was a test thing built for the government on a contract. And the pilot has now it gets stolen in the first episode, and then the test pilot has to get it back. And it's got I can't remember, Jan Michael Vincent is the name of the actor, and then Ernest Borgnine is his co-pilot.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
it's like really he's really good. Ernest Borgnine is awesome. And so the two of them end up stealing Airwolf, and then they keep it in a secret lair out in the middle of the Nevada desert, and then they use it to fight crime. So, but it's usually international crime. So it's usually like they have to fly off to like Africa or some other country and stop
Hmm.
terrorists or stuff like that. But I just, no matter what, it always ends with like this montage of like Airwolf blowing up a bunch of shit. It's hilarious and it's so consistent. And it's got the best theme song. I love the Airwolf theme song. It's like been humming it all week. But yeah, he goes around and he just like da, 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 and it's like and boom, 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 blows up all the guys, and then he lands, and then they end up at the pilot has this like very nice cabin in the middle of the mountains somewhere in Alaska. And he just sits there and he plays his cello for an eagle. That's what he does in his spare time. Because this eagle flies by and he's like, I'm trying to get it to trust me by playing the cello. Anyway, I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of good 80s tropes, like very cheap stuff.
That sounds great.
The guy who's in charge of like giving him missions wears all white, completely white suit with a hat, and he's got glasses with one of them as a sunglass because he's missing one eye. So instead of an eye patch, it's like glasses with one being like shades and the
Oh
other
yeah.
not. So it's a very, very intricate thing. And I feel like that's I might do that as a costume one year for Halloween. I feel like I could pull that off. So, well, no.
Yeah, that'd be great. In London, we have a Knight Rider court, one of the squares. It's called Knight
Oh,
Rider Court. Whenever I was in there, I was like, yeah.
I have Knight
I
Rider.
loved Knight Rider as a kid.
I
The
have that
thing
one.
I watched this week was The Residence on
Ah,
Netflix.
okay. I have some thoughts about this show. My girlfriend tried to get me to watch it, and I did not like it. So you go ahead and talk about it, and I'll tell you my thoughts.
I did. I really enjoyed it. But I'd said to my mom, like, "Oh, should we? This might be quite fun because it's like a murder mystery comedy thing." And then when I watched it, I mean, like 20 minutes into the first episode, I was like, "This is absolutely not, one that my mom would like because it's all like, it's very quick cuts and you know." It's tonally like not. She likes a cozy murder mystery, does my mother? So I was like, oh no, this is much more like
More of a
what?
Knives Out situation. It's kind of more of a, like quick witty characters and funny little situations, and it's not it's good. Like I'm not saying it's not good. It just it wasn't for me. My girlfriend loved it. She watched one episode. She's like, maybe we can watch this together. Let's watch the first episode. She watched this first episode twice, and I was just like, I didn't want to really think of the U.S. presidency in this way right now because it's all about the U.S. presidency, right? And I'm like, in this show, the U.S. president is gay, a gay man who has a husband, and I'm like, they can't even elect a freaking woman yet. Can we just like not try to romanticize this position this much because it's the reality of this is not anywhere close to what this is. So that's
Yeah.
kind of my reason for not being into it.
Oh well, I mean, and that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Sometimes you like escapism is too
Yeah.
escapey. I can't do this right now. But I will say the penultimate episode was one of those episodes where when it ended, I was like, I want to rewatch this immediately. It was so lovely. It
Yeah.
was so Oh my god, I just loved the penultimate episode so much. And I didn't get it until just before they announced who did it. I was, and sometimes I'm quite good at those. But I was like, well, she did it. And I've ruined that. It was a woman. And I was right, but it was only about 30 seconds before they were like, and you did it.
Yeah. Well, I was saying, like, from what
I'm interested to see if they do another one with the same, like, if it becomes a series for Cordelia Cup.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, yeah, they cut between, like, what happened and a Senate hearing, and I was like, my mum will not care at all about, like, the Senate hearing side of it.
Right, and they had what's his name, which was quite nice because he was actually a Senate. Yeah, that was quite funny because he's like the perfect person to play that.
No, I was like, wait a second, isn't he? Wasn't he?
Yeah. And the cast was excellent. I would say everybody involved, the whole cast, everyone was great. It was just not in the. I was not in the mood for it. It was not for me. I like. We have a comment here from Ryan. He says, "As an American, I would love to have that as a president, meaning a gay man as president." I'm sure many people would, and you'll get there one day, I'm sure. But it's just I'll come back to it at some point, maybe in a couple 4 years or so.
Yeah,
we'll see what the world is like.
Yeah, when it's not quite so sensitive. Yeah, I get that. That's absolutely fine. And sometimes you do just go, I just can't watch this right now. Even though it's a silly show, like, I want to be able to enjoy the silliness and I just can't. I'm too upset about everything.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was great. Thanks for still watching 911 with me. It's great because, like, I want to make it clear to everyone, I love this show. I know I spend a lot of time criticizing this show, but I love this show because I can shout about it so much because it's so stupid and it's so wrong. But that's what I love about it. It's like TV mistakes and movie mistakes. I get so irate about them, but I do love them because it's just that moment of like, I've spotted something, So I love this show so much. I don't want anyone to think that I am complaining about this show. I am just enjoying complaining about this show.
I enjoy listening to you complain about it. I like it. It's like something I've come into. I've not watched a network TV show like this for a very long time. So it's been a lot of fun going back into that world. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. Good.
And then, so we can have the second part of the two-parter next week, and let's find out how many of them don't die. My money's on all of them.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, I will see you next week then.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.